Theo Epstein, will he be baseball's savior? Manny,
Yo,
what's up, man?
what's good, Luis?
Your boy Theo's back in the headlines, man.
God,
You love
breaks,
that guy.
So he breaks curses, and now he's trying to save baseball at the same time. Can he do it? I think if anybody could do it, Theo could do it.
Really?
Potentially, but I just think that there's some things that are not fixable, you know? But I'm interested to hear what you have to say
Yes.
first.
Well, first I kind of want to really quickly verbatim go through what Theo said after joining the commissioner's front office, however you want to say it. And here's a little bit what he said. He says, clearly the strikeout rate is a little bit out of control. We need to find a way to get more action in the game, get the ball in play more often, allow players to show their athleticism more, and give fans more of what they want. So he literally just bundled up everything in one little sentence. He's like, this is what we got to do. The question is how? How can they minimize strikeouts and get the ball in play? I mean, players could just collectively themselves internally say, hey, you know what? Maybe I'm not going to swing for a home run. Maybe I'm going to choke up on this bat. Maybe I'm going to slap this ball the other way. Maybe when I see all 6 players on one side of the field, I can square a bunt up and push it to the other side of the field. I don't know. It doesn't seem like home runs and strikeouts are going away because I'm pretty sure you can do an analysis on this with your supercomputer that you have over there. But I'm pretty sure home run hitters get the big bucks. And I'm pretty sure strikeout pitchers also get the big bucks. So guys like David Fletcher and DJ LeMahieu, low ball offer on DJ LeMahieu, by the way. Can't believe it. Those guys don't get paid the big bucks. People want to get to that elite level to make the big bucks. So I don't think we're seeing strikeouts go away anytime soon. What are your thoughts?
My thoughts are this, and I think there's a reason why guys who strike out a lot of batters and guys who hit a lot of home runs are the guys who get paid the most. And that's because they're the reasons why fans tune in to watch a game. I'll give you an example. I grew up a Yankees fan, and when the Yes Network came around and they signed Alex Rodriguez, I don't know a single baseball fan out there who sits for 162 games and watches all 9 innings of every single game. There's times where you're going to tune out. You might have it on in the background while you're making dinner or whatever. Same thing, so using me as an example, that's the kind of fan I am. I have it on in the background. Maybe I'll watch 30, 40 games beginning to end. But for the most part, it's on in the background. When I was younger and the Yankees had A-Rod in the beginning in 2004, I would stop what I was doing to watch Alex Rodriguez hit. And the reason why I would stop what I was doing to watch Alex Rodriguez hit is because he might hit a bomb the likes I've never seen before in my life. That's why people watch baseball. That's why these guys get paid millions of dollars. Same goes when Mariano Rivera was pitching. I would tune in to see him strike a batter out, or I would tune in to watch if he's going to break a bat today. I tune in when Aroldis Chapman is pitching because I want to see if he could throw 105 today. You know what I mean? Like, that's why people are watching. People are not watching because they want to see someone lay a bunt to third base. I'm not saying that that's not a good strategy. I think that players should definitely take that strategy, but that's not the reason why people tune in to watch baseball. And I'll give you an example, like Whit Merrifield, for example. He plays for the Kansas City Royals. He's known as a contact hitter. When this move was made for Theo Epstein and Theo made his comments, Whit Merrifield quote tweeted it and said, "It's a simple fix then. Pay players who put the ball in play and pitchers who throw strikes more. Players who hit homers are paid more, so players strive only to hit homers. Same with pitchers. Strikeouts get guys paid. Throwing strikes and getting weak contact pays less." I'm sorry, Whit, you're not going to get paid more money the way you play baseball, and that's just the matter. That's just the way the world works. you're going to be a
Yeah.
millionaire. So stop complaining, because you're going to make more money than 99.9% of us out here, the little guys. But no team is going to give you the monster contract that a player like Mike Trout or Mookie Betts is going to get, because those guys are extraordinary. They do things that we've never seen before. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, but that's not to say that these other little things aren't necessary. You mentioned a guy like David Fletcher. David Fletcher's still under control, so he's not going to make that much money. But if he continues to play at the level that he plays and produce the way he produces, he's going to be a millionaire too someday. You know what I mean? Because guys like that are necessary. A guy like DJ LeMahieu could have gotten more AAV, but he chose security and years. He chose to get paid less money. So there is a market for these guys, but you're just never going to get paid like the big boppers. I'm sorry. That's just, people don't tune in to watch you lay down a bunt. I'm sorry. That's just not the game.
And I just want to say, like, it's not a new thing, because it's always been about Babe Ruth. It's always been about Reggie Jackson. It's always been about like that 60 home run, chasing history, who can hit the furthest, who's going to, like, it's not like we just woke up in this new millennium and then all of a sudden everybody tweak their swing to hit more home runs, and then now this is like the new standard. It's always been about the home run, and that's just the way it is. It's always been about the home run, like I said, with Babe Ruth, Reggie Jackson, all these, A-Rod, Ken Griffey. We like to romanticize what Ken Griffey Jr. was as the 5-tool player, Mike Trout as the 5-tool player and everything. But in the end of the day, it was about their home runs, right? It was about them chasing history and putting up the home run numbers and hitting for power. And I just want to say, like, even though it's annoying of what it's become today, guys like Giancarlo Stanton and Aaron Judge and Trout and Acuna, like, I still think hitting home runs at that rate itself is the otherworldly talent that merits like the crazy contracts that they get. I still think, like, what they get paid because they hit home runs, it makes sense, because that is like as good as baseball gets, right? And hitting home runs at the rate they do is not something common. It's not like these guys are like the average baseball player. And I'm not saying Whit Merrifield is an average baseball player, David Fletcher is an average baseball player. It's just the way it is. Like,
I just think that it's like social media. Like, the algorithm is set up so that to keep you on the apps or the websites or whatever, so that they can sell more ads and make more money. The same thing goes for baseball or any major sport. I would tune in to watch Alex Rodriguez. So they're going to give Alex Rodriguez a ton of money because people like me will tune in to watch him. Hey, maybe I might stick around and watch your commercials and buy the companies that are sponsoring for you, buy their products. And that's how they make money. So it's the same thing. Again, unfortunately, I used to make fun of David Fletcher because he was your guy in fantasy for 2 years. You had him on your team, and we'd make fun of him. Who the hell is David? Yeah, who's David Fletcher? Who's Fletcher? Like, funny name, all that stuff, whatever. But when we're looking at it, when we're looking at a player like David Fletcher, objectively and looking what he produces for his team, he's super valuable. Unfortunately, he just doesn't drive people to the television. He's not going to sell ads, so he's not going to get paid the same amount that a guy, again, like Mike Trout is going to get paid. But I have another quick point to make with the game of baseball and with the high level of strikeouts and all stuff like that. The interview that we're going to have in this episode later on is with the hitting coach for the Texas Rangers, Luis Ortiz, who's a tremendous guy. And I think you should stick around and listen to him because he has a lot of interesting things to say. But anyway, he has Joey Gallo on his team, who's probably like the godfather of the launch angle. Like, when Tom Verducci wrote that story 2 or 3 years ago, Ready to Launch, I think it was called, Joey Gallo was on the cover because he has the most extreme launch angle. He hits the biggest home runs and he strikes out a lot. And when I was talking to Luis Ortiz, and you'll hear this later, he was talking about how we're going through a period right now of adjustment. Pitchers are throwing high fastballs and curveballs. Hitters are, because you're getting high fastballs followed by curveballs, hitters are then in turn swinging at low pitches and launching it up in the air. Eventually, you're going to have some sort of shift in the game where guys, maybe they stop throwing that curveball, that 12-6 curveball or whatever. And there's going to be another adjustment. We're going to go through a period where guys won't hit as much home runs as they do now. There's always going to be a Giancarlo. There's always going to be an Aaron Judge, but maybe you'll see more David Fletchers. Maybe you'll see more guys like Luis Ortiz and guys like that. And I think that's just the nature of the game. That's why you have periods in baseball where you have guys like Babe Ruth and Lou Gehrig hit 50 home runs a year. And then you have years where guys don't crack 30 home runs. And then you have years where guys are hitting 400. And then you have years where guys are striking out 300 batters. And you have years where guys are only striking out 100 batters. The game changes constantly. I think leave the game alone and just keep experimenting with things like we saw last year, with things like the second base rule or 7-inning doubleheaders. But in terms of how the game is played, the reason why there's a pitcher and there's a hitter is because there's strategy involved. The pitcher's learning the hitter. The pitcher's adjusting to the hitter. He's changing the way he's pitching. The hitter's adjusting to the hitter's adjusting to the pitcher. There's adjustments made. It's a game. There's strategy. Leave it alone. Stop playing with it already.
Yeah, and that's a problem that I think the NFL has. Like, the NFL changes their rules every 2 years to the point that there's historic Hall of Fame numbers being put up almost every season. Somebody's breaking a record. Right. A new rookie is putting up is it because quarterbacks can't be touched anymore? Is it because there's a holding call on every play? I don't know. So I kind of don't like that the rules changes too much. But with that being said, realistically, what can they change at this point, other than doing things like letting batters use aluminum bats, other than, I don't know, moving the mound back a foot or two to give the hitters a more time to react to a ball coming down the plate? Realistically, I see this article here on Bleacher Report about Theo Epstein of all the issues and what he can do. And the only one I could see about making baseball more popular, at least, is the marketing. Like we said, like A-Rod mentioned in that interview or that tweet maybe a year back, where people should be allowed to repost, retweet, footage from the game, home runs, strikeouts, nasty, pitching ninja, whatever. Yep. And that, how you mentioned, if you're watching the game for a specific player like Aaron Judge, there should be a way for you to be more involved with Aaron Judge's game. Watch him take his warm-ups, have a camera on him at any time. I don't know. Those things I think can be fixed, but physically changing the game to force more production, I don't think I'd be on board with that.
No. And it's also simple, stupid, little simple things. Like why does the home team take BP first? You know what I mean? Because if I want to go watch my team take BP, they allow you into the stadium to watch BP. But I'm going to need to get there 2 hours in advance, watch my home team take BP, and then I have to sit through the away team taking BP before the game starts. Reverse that. Let the home team, make the home team take BP right before the game starts so that I can get there 45 minutes before the game, maybe catch Judge, hit some bombs into the black seats in Yankee Stadium. Wow. I just brought us back to the old stadium. But anyway, maybe I could go to Fenway and watch Xander Bogaerts launch bombs over the Green Monster, and then I could sit through my game. Little simple things like that. Again, allowing more access to your players, promoting your players more, put out more ads. I see a lot of commercials with basketball players. I don't see many commercials with MLB players out there.
No, because baseball has a chokehold on being a fun, young, relatable sport, because if a player tries to express themselves, they get on or they get pegged in the next at bat, basketball. And
we got a curse, ladies and gentlemen. Sound the alarms.
Oh man, what did I say?
Sound the alarms.
I don't even know what I said, man. I have a problem.
It's okay, man. I think we should just
I was about to curse.
We'll take care of it.
I almost just threw another curse where they doubled down, but yeah, where other sports, the NFL doesn't even really embrace the fun player aspect of it. They might throw a flag if there's some taunting going on, but the NBA, I feel they embrace
In the
Yeah.
in the NFL, that example, they used to throw penalties for guys who celebrated in the end zone, and now they dialed it back a little bit because it is
Yeah.
fun to watch that. Like people would tune in to see what Chad Ochocinco was gonna do this week in the end zone. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Or what Terrell Owens was. I'm aging myself here. Was gonna do in the end zone this week, and then they put out these rules, and these guys would just score touchdowns and run back to their benches, and it's like, yeah, I get it. Like that's the point of the game, but let them have some fun. Like, don't put out commercials about let the kids play. And then at the same time, if somebody gets pegged, like, there's an issue, or if somebody flips a bat, like there's some sort of issue or something. Like it's just let these guys literally let them play. Like if Ronald Acuna wants to do the craziest bat flip, like literally like start dancing merengue after a home run or something, let him do it. Like who cares? You know what I mean? Same goes for a pitcher. If a pitcher strikes somebody out and he wants to do the shooter from like Happy Gilmore, like I just struck you out, shoot, and blows a gun, let it go, right? Like who cares? You know what I mean? Let them have some fun.
Yeah. Again, yeah. The home run, the home run is, the home run is as good as it gets in baseball, in my opinion. So let's go towards it. Let's make the home run even more illustrious. Let's figure out a way. Maybe 450-foot home runs count for 2 runs now. Maybe, I don't know. Would you be on board?
Okay, no, now you're going crazy. No, okay. Now you're entering the territory last year, like I said, like eliminate the home run trot or whatever.
Nah, but then again, I think there is a limit. As I've always said, like I love the celebration. I love people that shove it in your face, like, yeah, but no, I almost just cursed again. Like, yeah, I hit this home run. What are you gonna do about it? Type of thing. I love it, but I also think there's a limit. Like I said, like I think there should maybe be like a minute and 30-second cap on your celebration. There should be like a cap on that thing. When we talked about the extra inning issue last year, as much as I hate changing the game, I would be on board with a home run derby to finish a game. I'd be more on board with that, even though that's completely random.
I think
like it's
I
not
think
part of the
work.
game, really.
I think you would lose a lot of 65 and older fans, but you know what? I hate to say this to you guys, and I do not speak for Ari Esquina. I do not speak for anybody who who I'm supposed to be speaking for or whatever. This is me speaking. My opinions are my own. Okay. Those people who are 65 or older, they're going to be gone in about 30 years. But the kid who's 15 and is watching this, he's going to be around for the next 60, 70, maybe 80 years with medicine and stuff. Aren't they the ones you should be marketing for? Like, I understand this has been your loyal fan for 50 years. He's been around. He's watched every game. And now he's seeing his game be tarnished. And it's like, oh my God, like, oh no, they're home run and a home run derby and extra innings. No, he's going to die in a couple years. He's gone. Like, I'm not saying forget about him. Keep marketing to him. Give him, give him a guy who bunts so that he could be happy during the game. But try to market to the kids, because that's who it's about. At the end of the day, that's who you want to come back to you. Those are the people you're losing, as kids. When I was a teacher, I would say, like, if I had 10 kids, let's say, I would say 8 of them love I would say like 5 of them love the NBA, 4 of them loved the NFL, and 1 loved baseball. And you have to change that somehow. You have to try to win these people back. And I think that the home run derby is a great idea. I think that would bring back a lot of fans.
I always said baseball was one of those sports that you had to play in order to appreciate.
Yeah.
Like football, I'm a huge baseball fan. I love baseball. When I play baseball, I don't feel like I'm my age. I feel like I'm a kid participating in just like a thing that I've always done. And nothing will ever top that. But I have to admit, watching on TV, football is just pound for pound, at least. Playoff baseball, I put playoff baseball against any sport.
Me too.
It's just as entertaining. But on any given day, football is just one of those sports that are more entertaining on TV than baseball is. But I think on the other side, maybe less and less kids are playing football because of all the negative effects that it has on your brain and your body, like the long-term effects. and also that the sport is heading towards a more safer route. So maybe they will lose some of their entertainment. Like I saw a helmet to helmet call yesterday in the Bucks game that was not a helmet to helmet call, but they called it because it just looked bad.
Yeah.
So there's things like that that might shoot football in the foot. In that sense, maybe baseball needs to invest in better youth programs or something. Get more people to play baseball. Maybe develop a women's baseball league, which
Yeah.
I would honestly, I'd like to see what that would look like. You know,
I think
not just softball.
unlike the other sports, like the WNBA is popular. It is gaining some popularity. I don't watch it
Eh,
personally, but I don't watch the NBA as much as I used to either. So
me
I
neither.
don't know if that's what it's about. I
I
don't
watched.
know. Like in football, it's like a misogynistic type thing. Like when they have women's football now, it's like lingerie football. That's what they televise and stuff like that. Like it's more about
Yeah,
like, oh, look how hot this girl is or whatever. I'm not down with that personally. I have 2 daughters, stuff like that.
you
Anyway,
know what?
in baseball, however, I feel like it would be entertaining to watch women's baseball because maybe you don't get the 400 or close to 500-foot home run or the 100-mile-an-hour launch angle, but the game is still the same. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like the level is still kind of the same. So
like it's still. I'm gonna pitch this ball. You're gonna try to hit it, and that's the beauty of baseball. It's that one-on-one matchup between a
right,
pitcher and a hitter. I would like to see a women's baseball development, like at least in the youth, at least like put more of a spotlight on it and see what it
yeah,
looks like. Get more kids to play baseball. Yeah, I'm not into the NBA as much as I thought I was because I watched the James Harden join the Nets the other day, and I gotta say that was one of the most boring things I've watched in a long time. It was just him drawing fouls to shoot free throws. He ended up getting a triple double. Nobody mentioned all the turnovers that he had. It was really boring. I mean, it's cool. It's good to watch guys like LeBron. The same thing as baseball. It's cool to watch Mike Trout and Aaron Judge, but I don't want to watch the Pistons compete. Like, who cares? Who do the Pistons have? A washed up Blake Griffin? Like, I don't know, man. It's just
yeah.
it's not what I thought it was. I think football takes the cake in terms of entertainment.
And here's the thing:
Um,
if you go to a live football game, it's night and day. Have you ever been to a football game live?
yeah, it's not as entertaining.
It's
It's
not
more about the
for me.
it's
It's
more
not
about the
entertaining at
tailgate.
all. Yeah,
It's
it's
more
all
about the
about the
tailgate.
tailgate
Yeah, you could end up
because
on one end of the field and not even see what the hell's going on. Like,
exactly that the perspective of the game is really hard sometimes, depending on where you're sitting. The commercial breaks that you don't see on TV because you're on commercial. When you're watching it live, sometimes you're like, what's happening? Why are they not playing right now? Like I don't understand what's happening. And you don't get to see some of the like there was a catch yesterday. I can't remember who made the throw. Maybe it was Patrick Mahomes, but I can't remember who the receiver was. But it's something you could only see it and appreciate it on television. If you were there live, you're kind of just guessing at what's happening and cheering because other people are cheering.
yeah,
In baseball, I think baseball is more fun live in a regular season than it is on TV because it is so slow moving. And I'm not gonna lie, man. Sometimes these announcers, oof, like
I think that I think you make a good point. They need to improve in that announcing aspect. They need to make it more affordable. There's 160, 80. All right, I'll be fair. 81 games that a fan could attend to their home ballpark. They should make that more affordable. There shouldn't be stadiums. I mean, Tampa is a bad example, but like I can't understand as bad as it is to be a Tampa Bay fan, like how their stadiums are always empty. That shouldn't be a thing. Doesn't it feel like they should have figured that out to get
yeah,
more fans to the ballpark? Doesn't it
yeah.
just feel like there should be more of an attendance to any professional sports? One of the three major professional sports in America. Like it's weird. I don't know.
And I
Somebody
think
should definitely.
with Tampa, because I've made this comment before. I think I wrote a piece on Call to the Pen when I first started, maybe 2 or 3 years ago. And I remember catching a lot of flack from Tampa fans because they actually do have a loyal fan base, but they were talking about where the stadium is positioned versus where like the fans really are. It's hard to get there. It's like it's a really long drive, and it's like once you get there, it's a pain or whatever. And they were thinking about moving the stadium, and I think they had a plan in place, and then it fell through. So I don't know what's going to happen with that. But apparently, Tampa does have a loyal fan base. What I do think that another thing that baseball should look into is potentially, and this is like sacrilegious to a lot of these players that make a lot of money, but is potentially a salary floor and a salary cap. Like it would solve two problems. You wouldn't have teams like the Cleveland Indians, whose payroll is $35 million currently as we speak. I think 5 players make that or more. 5 players alone, singular players, make that or more in Major League Baseball. So you wouldn't have situations like that. And you wouldn't have situations where, again, with Merrifield and David Fletcher, those guys may potentially make more money, whereas guys like Mike Trout, Garrett Cole might not make as much. They're still going to make a ton of money, but they're not going to make
the highest paid. Yep.
Right. They'll still be the highest paid, but they're not going to make as much more. Not only that, but then if you have a salary floor and a salary cap, owners have to open up the books to players. So it's more of a leveled playing field. You know what I mean? Then there wouldn't be the question right now during this pandemic, are owners using the pandemic as an excuse, or are they really suffering because there's no fans in the stadiums? You know what I mean? Like,
I gotta honestly, like, every time we talk about the salary floor versus, the luxury tax or whatever, I always go back and forth, and I'm more on board with the salary floor and the cap like than before. There just has to be a reason why that hasn't been put in place yet, like a negative effect. There might be something that we're overlooking. I'm just on that.
Yeah, I don't know, man. I think it's I think owners like George Steinbrenner had a big influence on when they put the system in place, had a big influence on Bud Selig because he's the one that instituted it. And George Steinbrenner didn't care about the luxury tax. He was going to pay it. And now you have someone like Steve Cohen, who a lot of owners didn't even want him to become an owner because he's so rich. But maybe that would entice those owners to be like, you know what, let's do the salary floor and salary cap because Cohen's going to go out there and spend $400 million. And how are we going to compete with that? So I don't know. You're right. It'd be interesting to look back to see how this all started and how to fix it. But I don't know. Anyway, the whole point was, can Theo Epstein save the game? I don't know if one guy can change so much about the game. I think that this is a placeholder position for him. I think that at some point, in the very near future, maybe within the year or two, I think Theo Epstein will be in a front office somewhere again. I don't think he's going to be in the commissioner's office for that long, personally.
Just some of those comments he made. He said like we got to show the players athleticism more.
They're more athletic now than they've ever been.
Yeah, but off the top of my head, I feel like the only thing that he can do is make the jerseys like more like V cut and like cut off the shoulder.
Yeah,
like we're watching football players, like these mammoth guys just running around the field, and you see like their striations and everything. I guess that's what he means. I don't know.
Or how about like let's do some research into why is it that we're seeing more hamstring injuries now than we've ever had before. Like try to fix things like that. Like I want to see these guys on the field more. Or like again, Luis Ortiz is the interview that we have coming up. Another thing I talked about him was about the steroid era because he was a big prospect in the Boston Red Sox system. He could have been one of the best players in baseball. According to him, had to use PEDs. But he decided, no, I'm not going to use PEDs. I want to do it the right way. And it didn't necessarily pan out for him. He got injured a lot, so on and so forth. I could go on and on. But I mentioned to him, would you be on board with the team having an appointed doctor who distributes performance enhancers in a safe way? And I'm not saying like Aaron Judge is like, yo, he's not injured or nothing. He's like, yo, doc, hit me up with a Boley shot real quick so I can hit this bomb or whatever. No, I'm talking like Aaron Judge maybe, I don't know, has some sort of injury that could be remedied better with some sort of steroid or performance enhancer. Like why not let these guys use it in a safe way? You know what I mean?
I would go as far as to say that if a player is feeling fatigued, he should be given something in order to get him to the like. As a fan, I don't care.
I don't want to see
this man if he isn't Cal Ripken Jr., I don't care. Put him on the field. Give me the best product. I'm not trying to make this guy Arnold Schwarzenegger. I don't want to see him put on 30 pounds of muscle just for my benefit. I'm good with that. Keep it. But if this guy wakes up one morning, I got to tell you, we got together to have a little baseball practice yesterday, and I feel horrible. My back hurts. My legs hurt. I dove for a ball that I didn't need to dive for, and I scraped my knee. My arm hurts. I'm in pain everywhere. If a baseball player wakes up feeling a fourth of what I felt today, and he feels like he's not going to play at his full potential, he should be given a greenie, like back in the day, and get him on the field where he is like he's 100% to play baseball. That's what I want to see. I don't care, man.
And
I don't care if these guys hit 80 home runs in a season and the numbers look inflated.
And I agree with you to a point. I don't know like what point you would reach. Like I don't think that you should just let guys just go. You know what? Go crazy. Like here you go. Here's needles on this wall. You got the horse steroids over here. This is what we give to our to our Clydesdales and Central Park or whatever. And I'm not talking like that. I agree with you. Aaron Judge reports being fatigued. Hey doc, I'm feeling really tired today. My body's not like. I just can't get myself up. And the doctor says, okay, let's run some tests or whatever. Okay, you could take this injection or maybe this pill and you'll feel better. Okay, let it go. Why is that such a bad thing? You know what I mean?
And also, isn't it like kind of like, I know, just bear, I'm going to try to make a point here. Pitchers are given like a full week to rest.
Yeah.
And they step into that game 100%. And not every pitcher, unless you're DeGrom, the best of the best, I guess what I'm trying to say is there's still going to be an elite level of these players' production and a middle and a lower and everything. Like pitchers all get the same amount of rest, and DeGrom is still the best pitcher in baseball. This guy gets Tanaka gets all the rest in the world. He has not been able to put together the numbers that guys like Cole and DeGrom put up. So it almost feels like whether we do it or not, Aaron Judge is still going to outplay all other players in his position. Mookie Betts is still going to outplay all of them, unless they're already taking something. But if we can get these players to be 100% every day, I still feel like it's not like we're going to see what we saw in the 90s with the steroid era where everybody was hitting like 50 home runs and 40 home runs. We're still going to see like the upper echelon of players performing at the highest level. Mm-hmm. Like it's going to be like an even playing field is what I'm trying to say. So I don't think it's going to like affect the game in a negative way. If anything, we'll just see less injuries, obviously better numbers for the elite players.
And you want to know what else turns fans off is when Mookie Betts, for example, is on a 15-game hitting streak, has hit a home run in his last 4 consecutive games, is hitting 759 with a 1254 OPS or whatever. I don't know. I'm making stuff up. And then you give him a rest day. Stuff like that pisses people. It pisses me off. Like it makes me want to not watch the game. Like those are not the times that you want to rest players. And I hear the same complaints with the NBA with guys like Kawhi Leonard who take days off and stuff like that. It's unattractive. It's not going to bring the fans. Luckily, the NBA is so popular that they don't have to worry about Kawhi when he takes a day off.
Yeah.
But it hurts baseball, especially because and if you've never played the game before and you're watching the game on TV, you're seeing a lot of guys just standing around and you're just like, okay, like why do these guys take days off? Like the guy in Giancarlo Stanton is playing left and he hasn't fielded a ball for 7 innings. Like why is he so tired?
Especially when you hear them say like, no, I felt fine. Like I wanted to play. Like
right. So stuff like that. So Theo, we just gave you a long list of stuff that you could use. And it's pro bono. Just maybe throw us a shout out at some point. You know what I mean? Something like that.
Get us some box seats.
I'll take some box seats anywhere. I'll go anywhere.
Every stadium. We'll take it.
I'm down for that. I think you can make that happen. But yeah. That's it, man. You got anything else?
No, man. I think I've said enough.
All right. So we are Bodega Baseball. And coming up is Luis Ortiz, hitting coach for the Texas Rangers. I'm Manny. Follow me on Twitter at MannyGo3. Follow Luis on Twitter at HovaMojo. Peace out, everybody.
Peace.
So I grew up in Santo Domingo, the capital. I was in a little league, the Manny Mora baseball league.
Okay.
First grew up in in Los Jardines del Norte by the UNFU. I don't know if you're familiar with that. UNFU is a university. And I started playing sandlot baseball with the guys and just going around. And as I got a little better, my mom thought, maybe we can do a little more organized baseball. And we went to the Centro Olímpico, got introduced to the Manny system, I guess you can put it. I played there for a few years. I went to school in La Salle, Colegio Dominicano de La Salle.
Okay.
So I graduated high school from there. You know, my dad, he's a lawyer. My mom was a nurse. You know, grew up with a big educational background. Education was a big deal. So,
were you offered any contracts while you were out there, or any deals or anything by any Major League Baseball club?
Well, it wasn't. I mean, it's a different. It was a different time, but I didn't. I mean, I didn't look for it. I didn't try out. I didn't do any of that. So I don't know if I would have. As soon as I realized that I could get a scholarship, I kind of like shut that down, and I wanted to graduate. I wanted to give my mom the degree. So I never went on the tour like most of the other guys did.
Yeah. With your parents being so well educated, were they supportive of you wanting to pursue a career in baseball?
I mean, if I didn't had a scholarship to come to the States, more than likely I probably would sign a pro contract. I mean, my parents, they realized, I mean, they understood the numbers, they understood the stats, they understood that the chances of somebody making it is really slim, especially from the Dominican. So at the time, especially. So, but it was one of those things that they knew that if baseball didn't work out, I was gonna go back to school and graduate. It was a foundation that was given. So it was they knew that I was so passionate about it, and it was engulfed most of my life. So they were gonna give me the opportunity. I think that's what they did. They just created the go as far as I could. And then after that, if reality sets in and baseball wasn't the way to go, then I would have gone back to school and graduated.
So you played in the Manny League, and then you were granted this scholarship. Was anyone instrumental in helping you get that scholarship, or what was the whole process with that? Like, how did you find it? What did you have to do to get accepted, and so on and so forth?
So there was a guy in my neighborhood. His name was Bien Figueroa, and he had entered the foundation a few years before me. He went to a junior college in California. Then he got a scholarship to play at Florida State. So mid-'80s, he's in ESPN playing short in the College World Series, and all of us are looking at him. And so that's inspire, I guess, the decision to search for the same thing that he was doing. So there was a guy, his name is Donald Alderman. He was the director of Peace Corps in the Dominican at the time, and he saw how many kids were signing a contract, getting released out of the Dominican, nothing to fall back on. So he said, what can I do to help alleviate that situation for a lot of young men that don't have anything else to do after they get released. So he started the foundation, and there was somebody there, Don Oscar Perez, who has gotten a scholarship, and he kind of like bullying and the placing of a lot of those kids. So it was, I mean, it came out of a labor of love, I guess, and a necessity for a lot of players that we knew eventually were going to get released, and nothing to fall back on. And at the time, there was sadly there was a relationship between drug dealers and some other players. There was it's a connection. It was an uneducated group with financial power that kind of gravitated to each other. So there were some people trying to find a different path to a lot of those kids.
Mm-hmm.
So that's how I ended the foundation. It was introduced by a guy from my neighborhood, and then taking English classes, graduating high school, all that. Then I was placed in a little school in Tennessee named Union University. It was a NIA school at the time, and it was arguably one of the best decisions I ever made.
So how was that? Because I can't imagine.
Yes.
Fortunately, when my parents came to the United States, as most Dominicans do, like there's that movie Nueva York with Balbuena. I don't know if you've ever seen that movie, but the United States for many Dominicans is Nueva York. Like if you go to where my parents are from, tú vas para Nueva York, even though you live in Florida. Like I live in Pennsylvania. They ask me, te vas para Nueva York mañana or whatever when I go on vacation. So I grew up in Washington Heights, and there's a lot of Dominicans. It's like essentially it's like you're growing up in the Dominican Republic inside of the United States. And so the point of the question I'm trying to get to is I'd have to imagine that in Tennessee there weren't a lot of people that looked like you or spoke like you, or how was that? How was that experience for you?
No, you're absolutely correct. I mean, after watching Bien Figueroa in the College World Series, and they had commercials of the schools they were profiled in the College World Series. So they'll have a tour of Florida State and tour of UCLA. So expectations was that all the schools were like that. Mm-hmm. So I go to this little bitty school. So right there, it was shocking. It's like, oh, it's a little school. It's like, it doesn't look like the ones on TV.
Right.
And then I went to a Southern Baptist school, which, I went to La Salle, which was a Catholic school. So you get some cultural shocks in there, but the most loving people I ever met, they took care of me. They made my life so much easier. And it was what created that foundation to a lot of the stuff that I'd done up to now. It was a little school, so everybody knew each other. So I probably didn't have experience like maybe other guys would have. I went to a Christian school, so they nurtured me, they took care of me. But the fact that it was so different, I mean, I had to learn English in a hurry if I wanted to communicate. So
was there anybody instrumental?
It was challenging, but it also was great.
Yeah. Was there anybody instrumental in your trying to get acclimated to this new environment? Somebody who taught you English, or is there anybody that took you in, or were you just dorming? Tell me a little bit more about that.
Yeah, of course, my baseball coach, I left play with the Red Sox. I graduated in 2004, so we don't talk. I mean, it's just that relationship. He's my American dad, and that's why the other players would say, hey, your daddy's looking for you. So he was the most instrumental. As far as my the roommates, older roommates, and I don't know if they saw it as a novelty or what, but they just thought it was their little brother, and they took care of me. I mean, it was the transition wasn't as bad. Besides, I left my mom and dad and my brother and sister, and the comfort of home and language and food and all that. I went to the right place for me.
Okay.
I was mama's boy mama's boy that was big. It was big into school, and it was big into being disciplined for baseball. So the environment was perfect for me. I don't know if I would have gone to a bigger school where maybe there was a lot of partying going on and a lot of other distractions. I don't know what would happen, but as far as like who I was, it matched my personality. So I thrive on that environment.
What was your coach's name? The call started to drop a little bit there again.
Yeah, his name is Andy Rushing.
Yeah, I was just gonna say that must be hard because if nothing else, Dominican mothers are the most nurturing people on the planet. Like
Indeed.
I have plenty of cousins in their late 20s and 30s that they're like, I want to move out by myself, but like, am I gonna get mommy's sancocho, or you know what I mean? Or
Yeah, yeah.
you know,
You get used to all that.
it's amazing. And
But
I
it was
can't.
nice because the cafeteria ladies, they just took me over. I mean, at the time, food was ration. You got a plate, and that was it. And they would bring from, they would just take a plate and kind of sneak it out and give me another plate. I mean, they took care of me. They really did.
That's great. So what happened then? So while you're in college, does any MLB team become interested in you? What happens during your college playing career?
Yeah, so first year I did really well. I mean, small school, but still did really well. All conference, all district, all that stuff. Second year, there was a place called Millington, Tennessee, which is where the U.S. Olympic team used to practice. So they were doing some tryouts there for the senior of the senior players of the area. So one of the guys said, "Why don't you come with us? I mean, you're good. I mean, they might not know about you. I mean, it's not like now where you have social media and all these other promoting tools. There, it was so hard to be discovered if you went to a little bitty school."
Yeah.
So I went over there. I went to their tryout. It was the Texas Rangers. Did well. They're like, "Who are you? How have we never heard of you?" So they start sending scouts. Then the Red Sox send a scout. And then my junior year, I got drafted in the 8th round by the Red Sox.
8th round.
So
that's pretty high.
You will get some little Christmas cards or Christmas letter from some schools. Hey, Seattle sent me one. I mean, it was just that they started to notice you.
So you stayed in that university for your entire 4 years?
It was 3 years I got drafted, and then I went back to graduate.
Okay. And so did you go to school while you were playing baseball, or did you go back later on in life to get your degree?
So I saw the end coming up. I already had played like 12 years and had some good years, never went back to the big leagues. It's like, okay, the light is not the end of the tunnel anymore. So what do I got to do to transition from a baseball career to life after baseball, especially after having, have 4 kids and, life goes on. Yeah. And I didn't establish myself in the big league, so I didn't make the money to retire comfortably like some of the guys that had the opportunity to have that blessing. So I called my school. 2002, I retired 2004, but 2002, I called the school and said, "Hey, what do I got to do to graduate?" So they said, "Well, there's 2 paths. You can do this, and you don't have to be on campus, or you can do this, but you have to be on campus. If you graduate with this degree, you got to be on campus because there's this lab and this, and then if you graduate with this degree, then you do a lot of independent studies, and there's all that you have to come in, and we can do it on a winter term, accelerated, January, you still can go back and play." So that's what I did. I ended up playing 2003. I was with the Expos, so the bus, airplane, I'm doing papers and writing stuff, and they would actually fax me a test, and I would fax it back. Technology was a little differently.
Yeah.
It worked a little differently, but end up right before the beginning of my last year playing, I ended up finishing all my credits, graduated and played my last year, and then I retired.
What did you get a degree in?
All right, so I was going first for management and marketing with a minor in pre-law, just because I thought, my daddy's a lawyer. If baseball doesn't work out, I tried to go to law school in the States.
Yeah.
And do like international business thing, import, export, because of the Dominican. And so I ended up, I needed to go through a lot of school classes, high school with that if I finished that. So I ended up finishing a degree in kinesiology, physical education with a minor in business.
Wow. That's a lot.
Yeah.
So,
it's not
okay.
as bad as it sounds.
So you played, essentially, you said you had a 12-year playing career so you retired.
At 14. I played 14, but at my 12th season, I called the school and said, hey, what do I got to do to graduate?
Okay, gotcha.
So I ended up playing 2 more years after that. Yeah.
So did you ever get called up to the big leagues for any service time or anything at all?
Yeah, no, I did before.
Uh-huh.
So I was a big prospect early in my career, so I got called up really quickly.
Mm-hmm.
I ended up having 4 surgeries, so I never went back. So I got called up twice, 93, 94 with the Red Sox, 95, 96 with the Rangers. Then I went to Japan in 97, and just injuries just piled up and never went back to the big leagues. Was close a couple of times, but never went back.
Yeah. Okay, so then tell me about your transition from your playing career. You saw the light at the end of the tunnel. You decided to go to college, and then your playing career officially ends. How did the transition work from player to coach?
Well, so my girls were really little when I was playing, so we wanted to be together. So we start homeschooling.
Mm-hmm.
Are you still there? Yeah. We start homeschooling so they can be with me.
Yeah.
So my last year playing, decided, okay, and there was other teams interested. So I said, no, I want to go home. So went home and opened up a baseball school in Texas. So in the morning, I can do my homeschool. In the afternoon, when the kids get out of school, I can do the lessons and camps and things like that. So it worked perfectly for a schedule. So after 4 years of that, the Rangers minor league director called me, hey, I heard about you. Is there any interest on you wanting to coach? And so I said, well, I don't know. We have the business. We have the homeschooling. I don't know if there will be a fit. If there's a fit, it will be this way. And they decided to give it a try. And I went to a little town in Washington called Spokane, coach for 3 months. And they asked me to come back. And I said, well, if I come back, I don't want to coach a team. I want to be able to come home and be with the girls. So they created this role for me, kind of like a coordinating job. Mm-hmm. So I would come home for 2 weeks. I would go on the road for 2 weeks, and that's how everything started.
What did it feel like when you finally realized, like, okay, this isn't gonna happen for me? Like, was it tough for you to accept that, or was it just like, okay, on to the next thing? Like let's just move on from this, whatever.
I've been a realist all my life for some reason. I don't know if it was the fact growing up in the Dominican or my parents. I don't know what it was, educational background. But I was playing in an era where doing it the right way was very difficult to compete.
Right.
There was a lot of steroids, a lot of things going on. So I always felt that I was going to be more successful after I retired because I could use my brain more. For some reason, I just had that. I would see how guys that I was better than them, they come back after a winter and they're bigger, stronger, faster, and they're hitting the ball farther. And you're like, what just happened here?
Yeah.
So I saw that. I saw that the unfairness of it.
Were you never tempted to to use a performance enhancer? You said you saw guys would leave and they're small and then they'd come back and they were huge. Were you ever tempted? Like, I know I'm
Yeah.
good enough. If I take this, I could make it to the big show. You know, like, tell me a little bit about that.
I mean, I guess there's always temptation just because you see the unfairness and you go, well, if I can compete with these guys naturally, imagine what I could do if I do them. But it was, for me, it wasn't a health issue. I mean, I went to school for that. Like, I understood the risk and all this, all that. It was more a moral issue for me. I mean, it was, I just didn't think you should cheat to compete. I mean, I think you should do it. I know, very innocent on that regard. And I thought, you know, you're still going to get rewarded by doing the right things. But, you know, the world doesn't work like that. And cheaters sometimes get rewarded in a arena like that. But no, it never went to more than that. Like, man, what could I do if I do it? And I compete with those guys at the same level.
Right.
You know, you got those thoughts in your head, but never follow through. I mean, that's why when I wrote my books, the title was The Natural Hitter. I was because of that, because I wanted to show people that even though the environment was against you, you can still accomplish some things doing it the right way.
And I'm of the belief, like, with Hall of Fame votes and stuff now, like, a lot of people are refusing to vote for guys that were implicated for steroid use. And I think I'm 99% sure that these guys probably took performance enhancers. But what sucks about it is that I can't say for sure that, like, I guess what I'm trying to say is, like, the level of doubt in my mind about the whole sport during that era is way too big. Like, I can't, you know, I don't know this for sure, but, like, I wouldn't be surprised if I heard, like, a name like Derek Jeter or something, because everybody, it seemed like everybody was doing it at the time. Yeah. You know what I mean?
No, you're absolutely right.
So, like,
it's hard not to doubt somebody that accomplished great things in that era.
Right.
To not say this guy did it.
And I feel like we kind of pick and choose who we're going to demonize for it and who we're not going to demonize for it. Like someone like Barry Bonds and Roger Clemens and Alex Rodriguez, they get demonized for it, and they were implicated. There was no real evidence that they did. With A-Rod, biogenesis and all that stuff. But and then we have guys like David Ortiz who came up positive on an anonymous test, and we don't demonize him. If nothing, he's beloved. Bartolo Colon too. Bartolo Colon is a hero in America and in the Dominican Republic. That kind of stuff bothers me. I don't like the unfairness.
Well, I think a lot has to do with personality. We're still humans. Yeah. And you know, you like somebody, the person seems nice, you cannot give him the benefit of the doubt. The other person looks like he's a jerk or arrogant or whatever. You cannot. Right. You might be more negative with that person. I remember that the case between Andy Pettit and Clemens.
Right.
You know, I deny it, and the guy's like, but I injected your wife. No, you didn't do that. I did this. Right. Andy Pettit goes, you know what? I'm sorry. I was hurt. I was human. I wanted to help my team. I mean, now nobody hears about Andy Pettit. Exactly. As soon as he just owned up to it and said, you know what? I was hurt. I wanted to help my team, and I wanted to get back to the field faster. They told me it would get faster. Big mistake. I'm so sorry. I never do it again.
Right.
Nobody hears about it. So I think has a lot to do with that. And also the fact that some of those guys were breaking sacred records.
Right.
And I think when you start doing that, then you start going, well, but Babe Ruth never did that. And so.
Right. Yeah. It's tough.
There's a few little issues.
Yeah. And I don't want to make this a conversation about this. We'll get back to your life, but it's interesting. Where do you stand on, like, if somebody really needs it, like in Andy Pettit's case, to your point, he came out, he admitted it or whatever, but his claim was that he did it because he wanted to recover from an injury quicker. if there was a way that we could do it safely, like in the NFL, they have team doctors. I'm sure you have it in MLB too, but they're not as present as they are in the NFL. Like in the NFL, they're actually in the sidelines. What if there was like a team doctor, every team assigned a doctor who can administer these things in a safe way if needed? You know what I mean? Is that something that you think Major League Baseball would ever agree to move toward, or not? Or you think that's just too far?
I don't think they should. I mean,
Yeah.
I think that let's say Cano, I mean, he's Dominican, all that. He been cut twice. Yeah. There's a lot of guys that are gonna abuse it no matter what. The challenge to me on that is that it's either all of them use it or nobody uses them. Because if they're illegal for performance enhancement, I mean, if he has some kind of like physical issue, whatever, and he's prescribed properly, I mean, he's human. If it's prescribed to somebody outside the world, the baseball world, it can be prescribed to somebody like that. But if he's to go back to playing, I don't think it should be. It should be, you do it like everybody else. You rehab, you have surgery, you do whatever you got to do.
Yeah.
I think, I mean, the challenge for me with a lot of the steroid stuff is that the guys that get caught still keep all the money that they made, even though they cheated. So I'm thinking, you know what, Cano, I'm sorry. Whoever else gets caught, contract is void. You got to play for the minimum again, and you got to prove yourself. And let's do another contract. Because it's just unfair for everybody that doesn't do it, that guys get caught and they're still super rich, even though it was at the expense of a lot of guys that were trying to do it right.
Yeah, and there's a lot of examples, guys like Melky Cabrera. I think he got a big contract after he was caught, like a massive contract. You know, Nelson Cruz was involved in the biogenesis scandal. I love Nelson Cruz. But it's crazy. We just don't, you know, like we just pick and choose.
And it goes back. There are good people that help a lot of people, but wrong is wrong. You know,
exactly.
Like if it's not allowed in the sport, all the rules should be applied to everybody equally.
Yeah.
Not selectively.
I agree with you 100%. Okay, so so let's get back to, you're with the Rangers and they created kind of a position for you where you can continue with your daily life, see your kids, all that stuff. Then from some of the research I did, you were appointed minor league hitting coach in 2008 by the Texas Rangers. At what level was that? And tell me about, you know, getting that job and, you know, how you transitioned into it. What was, you know, tell me a little bit about it, essentially.
Yeah, so that was a short season A in the Northwest League. And it was one of those things that you play, you have a perspective from that side. Then I leave the game for almost 5 years, go back, see the game in a different venue, because now it's not you trying to make it. You're actually helping facilitate that somebody else makes it. Now with the competitive nature of owning a business, you get exposed to things that a lot of coaches that when I went to baseball hadn't been exposed. I mean, if I want to get more lessons, I got to try to stay with technology and try to buy the video software, video analysis software, and you do this, and you become a little more creative because you're trying to attract. You want the repeat business of the client, so you always keep up with technology and what's going on. Well, baseball has always been, you know, up to the last few years, it was very complacent. Hey, we take batting practice and we take ground balls, and this is whoever has talent, whoever doesn't goes away and we get somebody else. So when I came in, I was shocked of how behind baseball was compared to some of those, you know, places that did lessons. So that's how everything started. I went there, coached for 3 months. Then I became a coordinator and started traveling to all the affiliates. 2009 till 2012, I would go to all from rookie, the Dominican, all the way to AAA. I would visit all the teams, kind of like helping the coaches grow, and some special cases of players where they might need a little more help. And so, yeah.
So did you essentially, if I'm understanding this right, you kind of brought in this advanced stuff that you were learning outside of the game, and you were bringing, is that kind of what you were doing?
Well, I mean, it was different, and I think a lot of people fought it. There were some different ways to looking at hitting, and just like any time you disrupt a little bit the status quo, it's gonna be people that have been comfortable in that environment are gonna say, oh, that's wrong, or that's not the right way, or whatever, or we've done it this way for a long time. It has always worked this way. But eventually just become normal. You have early adopters that they're always gonna risk it, and you're gonna be people fighting it, and then all of a sudden it becomes normal.
It's kind of funny that you say that, because this is between 2008 and 2012. So about approximately 10 years ago. And inside of those 10 years, baseball has completely changed. It's a completely different game than it was 10 years ago in terms of, at least on the offensive side. And I think a player on your team, and Joey Gallo was almost the poster child of it. I remember there was a piece by Tom Verducci like 3 years ago, maybe. And it was about the launch angle revolution.
Yeah.
And Joey Gallo's one of those guys. And, he strikes out a lot, but he has extreme power. And we saw last year that he's a phenomenal hitter when he's in the zone. And he still is. I mean, regardless of what anybody says. Where do you fall in that? In terms of the philosophy that strikeouts don't matter, and to stick with your approach no matter what the count is, even if you strike out, that's okay. Go, hit the ball in the air, don't hit ground balls. What is your approach on that?
I think we're back transitioning. So you got to look at it this way. You have, pitchers were taught to throw low in the zone. So hitters were taught to get on top of the ball. So you get a lot of ground balls. So all of a sudden they start saying, well, if it's throwing low, let's lift it. Well, what happens is that the balls start going in the air, more power is happening. Technology comes along that measures things. I mean, all this stuff is just measuring a result. There's no a way of teaching it. It's just measuring something. Where what's happening right now is that pitchers understood spin rate and throwing high in the zone. So that swing that's lifting it up now is not working. So now you're going to have to transition again. And with with the spike on velocity, you got to learn to become a better hitter. I mean, it's just those big swings, they're not going to work. I mean, it's going to be one of those things that everybody has to humble themselves, and home runs are home runs, and guys are going to repeat and perform what they're getting rewarded for.
Right.
And it is what it is. That's human nature. But I think that's going to start changing when you start seeing some of the guys that have been successful now are more complete hitters that are making contact, and home run might not be 40, 50, but they produce a lot.
Yeah.
So the game is gonna, the game keep adjusting, and survival of the fittest. And I think what's happening right now with the spike of velocity, the analytics and understanding where guys struggle and how top of the zone is very effective, then swings are going to have to change again.
And I think guys like DJ LeMahieu is a good example. You just can't shift on him. He could hit it wherever he wants to. And then I feel like guys like really strong guys like I'm mentioning a lot of Yankee players, but Aaron Judge and Giancarlo Stanton, you almost can't shift on them because they hit the ball too hard. Like it's going to get past anybody.
the difference with the Yankees, for example,
Yeah.
is that they have a few guys like that.
Yeah.
So if a couple of them are struggling, I think the challenge is going to be for teams is how you populate a team. I mean, you look at Tampa. Tampa doesn't have those guys. They just grind at bats. They just fight. The Yankees have big guys that two of them don't hit, then the other couple guys still have. But if you only have one of those guys, they get exposed because they don't have to pitch to them.
Right.
So I think it's just the composition of teams and what the philosophy of the organization is going to dictate a lot of that. But yeah, I think the way the pitching is, those LeMahieu guys, those Mookie Betts, guys like that are going to be rewarded handsomely.
And so how has that been? This is your, I guess, and correct me if I'm wrong, this is your first official, like, you're Chris Woodward's hitting coach. That's your job. How has that been for you?
Well, I mean, the first year we probably overachieved a little bit. We did some cool things. We had some players to perform at a level that they haven't performed before, and then this COVID year, and it was a challenging year in so many regards. We had a lot of injuries. We had our player of the year from the year before missed 75% of the season. Our arguably our best hitter missed half of the season. Our shortstop missed half of the season. So we were handicapped a lot by that, and we had to play a lot of younger players, which for the future is going to be one of the best things that ever happened to us. For the present was not very good. But it's a challenge that you go through. It was a short season. I think we were getting better, but we ran out of time. It was one of those things where, on average, our regular players missed about 50% of the season, and we had to have guys from Class A playing a lot, which was the best thing for them. But it allowed for a lot of struggles in a 2-month season.
I was having this conversation with someone. We kind of treated the season, initially it was something new for everybody. I don't know if it was like this in your perspective on the field with the guys and all that stuff, but from this side of the field, from the viewer side, it was new at first, and then we kind of just transitioned into it as if baseball had never been gone, as if there was no COVID. You know what I mean? And we're looking at stuff like, oh, it's August and this team is at first, this team is at second. But what we don't realize is that in a 60-game span, a lot can happen. A team can get super hot and be really good. A team can start off really slow and start really bad. Look at the Washington Nationals the year before. I think
you're right.
Through 60 games, they were like in third or fourth place in the division. They ended up winning the World Series. So I think you're right. I think getting that experience in for those young players was big. Now they know what it's like to be in the show. And who knows? Things might be completely different in 2021.
No, this year you cannot evaluate it correctly. I mean, it's never been like this, and whoever tries to compare it to anything that has happened before is just fooling themselves. I mean, it's just great players struggle, good players that weren't that good did well. Teams, I mean, in a short season, I mean, we will have 4 more months.
Yeah, exactly.
If we had a regular team, so a regular season, so very hard to really quantify how things happened this year. A lot of protocols, a lot of things our guys weren't used to. No videos between at bats, and the time was shrank for how long they can be on the field. I mean, there was a lot of stuff that guys weren't used to it, and a lot of guys struggled with that.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Baseball's the creatures. You're a creature of habit in baseball. Like routines, everything. What are you hearing anything about 2021? Is there any fears that I know that right now we're going through sort of a big wave of COVID cases where I live currently. My wife is a physician, and cases are up 400% from where they were a month or two ago. But there's a light at the end of the tunnel, to use your phrase. There's vaccines on the way. That doesn't mean that it just goes away immediately. It's gonna take some time. But what are we to expect in 2021? Will there be baseball? Will we have a complete season? You know, will there be spring training again? What do you think? Have you been hearing anything? Or
I think 2020 shows that you make the right adjustments. You know, things can go on. I think the vaccine is going to be huge. The fact that mortality has dropped significantly, even though infections have gone up, I think it's going to be huge. I think we know who are the ones that are the most vulnerable, I guess.
Yeah.
I think Americans want their freedoms, man, and it's hard to contain. I mean, I think all the countries in the world that have some kind of freedom are struggling with it because people don't like to be cooped up in a house and not be able to be with family and stuff. So I think we're gonna have to live with some infections and some positive cases, but the fact that mortality is not going up, is going down, I think that's gonna give us an opportunity to adjust. I think the vaccine is gonna be huge. I think some of the adjustments that baseball is probably gonna do is just have spring training for the big league team first to avoid a lot of the number of people around instead of having all 7 teams in there. That's what I heard that might happen. But I mean, we're working like we're gonna have baseball. I mean, we're preparing like we're gonna have baseball. So, and I think the country needs baseball. The country needs entertainment and being able to just relax. I mean, it's been such a stressful year. I think we need football. We need to get our minds away from a lot of the stuff. So
yeah, and hopefully people start doing the small things. You know, like just wearing a mask is a big deal. A lot of people want to downplay it, but it's a small sacrifice compared to the sacrifices our forefathers, the people before us made. That's a very small sacrifice. I wanted to.
I mean, the way I look at it, if it doesn't work, you don't lose anything. But if it works, you there's a lot to gain for. And I think that's what there's been so many conflicting information. I wish the media and I wish politicians don't play politics with it and just tell us the truth.
That's it. Exactly. Just tell us what we need to know. I want to jump real quick, and then I have one more question. I know I've kept you for...
Yeah, no, you're good.
It's almost an hour. But you have experience as a minor league player. You've coached at the minor league level. What's your take on service time? I'm under the impression... I'm starting to believe that service time in baseball is kind of damaging the sport a little bit. And I understand that there's a whole economy to minor league baseball. I know that it's necessary because playing at the major league level is a completely different animal entirely. But I feel like a guy like Kyler Murray, who ended up going to the Cardinals in the NFL instead of sticking with the Oakland A's in MLB, I almost can't blame him for making that choice, because had he decided to go the Major League Baseball route, it wasn't like he was just going to go to the show and get, start getting T-shirts made of him and he's a household name all of a sudden. He was going to have to go probably through rookie ball or A and make his way all the way up. And by the time he's in the major leagues, maybe it's 3, 4, 5 years down the line, and then now some major league clubs are playing with your service time so that they can have control of you for longer. You have guys like Aaron Judge that didn't start playing until he was like 26 or 27 years old. There's a lot of examples like that. Do you think that baseball should rethink service time for players? Like maybe allow, like if you're drafted, maybe you do have to jump through all the channels, but maybe after a certain amount of years, like you become a free agent or something. Maybe instead of 5 years or whatever it takes, you're in the minor leagues for a maximum of 3 years, and then you become a free agent or something like that. I don't know. What do you think on service time?
Well, I mean, they're just such a difficult way to look at it, just because if we don't have the same player as every player. We have a 16-year-old Dominican with nutrition wasn't, like they technically wasn't prepared correctly. There's a lot of stuff that happens in the minor leagues. A team that has a true major league player in the minor leagues that can produce right away, it's hard if you're going to compete not to use that guy. I mean, the minor leagues are necessary because baseball is not like football, basketball, that you can be ready, just coming out of college. Baseball is a total different game. It really is. Mm-hmm. And Kyler Murray will have to play 3 or 4 years in the minor leagues if he was good enough. Maybe he was, maybe he made the right decision as far as his athleticism will transfer a lot quicker in football. But as far as the service time, the thing is it's a business. We choose to play. There are rules for the game. I understand the business. The owners are trying to survive the business. Yeah. And I see their side. I know the players want to get as much money as they can, and having the happy medium, I don't know where that sweet spot is, but it's a transaction. You're not forced to do it. Right. So that's part of the rules of playing. And if the CBA they change it, that's fine. But I just don't like complaining about stuff that is already in the books. Like either we fix it or we deal with it. Right. And when a couple people complain that they didn't get called up because they didn't call him up till May 1st so they can have an extra year in their service. Well, as soon as you become a free agent, you're gonna go somewhere else where the owners that develop you give you a signing bonus. I mean, all the way to them. And that's what I tell our players when I was a minor league director. A field coordinator, was that a play in the minor leagues is a net loss for the organization. Mm-hmm. Until you make it to the big leagues. So it's not that the owners are making any money from you in the minor leagues. Yeah, yeah. So that's the challenge. That you go and give a kid $3-4 million, and they want you to wait another month so they can save a couple. It's like, yeah, it's a balance act. I mean, I get it. It's like if everybody will get the same signing bonus and everybody will. And everybody's physically at the same stage, and everybody's is fundamentally at the same stage, then we can talk to be a little bit different. But the fact that everybody's in a different stage, a Dominican kid that signed for $10,000, a first-round pick that signed for $9 million, it's not. We're not comparing apples and apples here. Yeah. So that's the challenge of service time. It's just. Hopefully those players are going to play for 15 years and I don't know. I try to think as a player. I try to think as a coach. I try to think as if I own the team and I already invested this much money on this guy and I haven't got any penny from it. How can I get some? It's like, it's a business. We can never forget that.
Yeah. At the end of the day, it's a business. And I think that, what we saw
and fairness is very relative too, because it's kind of hard to say, they're being unfair when you're gonna make $550,000. It's like, right, I know it is what it is.
Right, that's true too. That's very true.
You haven't played an inning of baseball and you're ready, and you might sign for $1 million. I mean, it's just fairness is kind of that's a word that is hard to use in this kind of setting, because really is I don't know what fair is. Yeah. I mean, we're trying to compare it to the owners are making this amount and we're making this. Then you start saying that, but we can find unfairness everywhere.
Yeah, and I think that's why baseball took such a big hit before the season started, when there's all those contract negotiations, because you have people starving for food. Like my father owns he did now. He's getting ready to retire finally.
Oh,
But
okay.
bodegas and liquor stores and stuff like that in the Northeast, and they're losing customers because of COVID.
Yeah.
And meanwhile, you have billionaires and millionaires arguing over money. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's a challenge. It's a challenge to feel sorry for people like that, but it's still is the business, and the business have to survive, and
Exactly.
and a lot of people work that are not the players and the owners. You know, there's a lot of
Exactly.
people that get affected. You know, those are the unsung heroes that are behind the scenes
Yeah.
that don't make close to that, but they're still gonna suffer from that. So,
And
it's a more complex answer than a question than we're gonna have time to discuss here.
for sure. And you know, all those people that you mentioned are part of keeping that machine running, and they're just as
Exactly.
important, you know. Pues sí, Luis, gracias.
No,
por
gracias a
hablar.
ti, Manuel.
Y nos vemos pronto.
Está bien, cuídate
Ah.
mucho y
No, gracias a ti. Gracias a ti.
está bien, no hay problema.
Ok,
Cuídate.
bye bye.
Ok, hablamos. Bye bye.